from the great state of Michigan. Podcasting across the world and beyond. Across the world and beyond. It's the Easyspeak Speakeasy330 podcast. A podcast that will go in depth on local and national news, ranging from sports to beer and barbecue. We've got you covered. Get ready for Ain't My Money, Not My Problem, where we'll make the picks, you make the money. Now, go grab your favorite beverage, sit back, and join Tom, Rich, JP, a.k.a. The Giant, and Drew. It's showtime.
What is up? Good evening. It is Sunday night in the Speakeasy. Little different format today because we are time pressed with the man in the lower right-hand corner. And if you read his nameplate, it says he's lost in the Pacific. He's on a cruise ship right now. Mr. Rich Jasper, what's up?
Hey, guys. How you doing? Dude, it is hot as balls right now.
Now, whereabouts are you currently? Are you in Mexican waters or?
Yeah, well, I'm in international waters, but yeah, I'm probably halfway down the Mexican coast, yeah.
No cartels or anything tailing behind?
No, not really. I mean, there's some. I mean, I'm hoping some pirates are gonna hop on here, but I guess not.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna hop to it. Tim, as always, is here in the Speakeasy with me. What's up, buddy?
How's it going, fellas?
And JP, poop talk extraordinaire, over in the lower left. What's up, fella?
What's going on?
Yes, and there was poop talk pre-show, so we're gonna jump right into this thing because, like I said, we're limited in time with Rich because apparently he's got to go drink some Diet Cokes down at the casino. But Tigers trade deadline, very ho-hum for the most part. And I'll jump right into it with you, Rich. You happy or disappointed with Scott Harris's first time around as the Tigers VP?
I'm not gonna say that I'm disappointed in what he did. I just don't think there was much of a market for many of the players that they were willing to give up. You know, I mean, Lorenzen, yeah, okay, so we got a second baseman who, by the way, I mean, he's got good contact numbers. He's definitely got some upside to him. Is it going to take a little bit of time? Sure, it's going to take a little bit of time, but I think he's going to fit in well as long as he pans out, right? Because we know how sometimes it goes. You know, the big conversation was about Erod and how they couldn't come to terms with the Dodgers, and I guess he wasn't totally ruling out the Dodgers. He allowed them to talk, right?
Yep.
But I think at the end of the day, I think he was like, I'm just going to do what's best for me and my family. And the people were absolutely torching, Harris on why he didn't get anything done. You should have known that they were on a no trade, but he gave them the okay to talk to him. So that's a lot of going on. I don't. When you really don't have much to give up, per se, or much that you're willing to give up, it's not worth making a dumb trade like that.
Well, from what I understand, Erod was requesting a $20 million extension from the Dodgers, and the Dodgers was like, no, that ain't happening. So that's when he decided to pull his name off, from the no trade clause. So.
But do you blame the guy? I mean,
no,
let's be real here.
Don't.
So yeah,
I don't.
They uproot his family, move him out there. He wanted a little bit more security, I guess, if you want to say. So
right. So
I don't blame him. He's not worth that extra $20 million. But
not right now. No, not right now.
They always say throw it up as high as you can, and wherever it comes down.
Oh, sure, aim high, watch him by. Yeah. And again, last year he was away from the team for a good portion of the season, in which he was ignoring calls and texts, and he basically didn't make the Tigers chose to not pay him. So there was a lot of thought that this was a little bit of payback, but it kind of came out that there maybe was a decision by his wife. Rich, what do you think about the potential of the wife kind of dictating where the player is going to play. You don't really hear that side of the professional scope when it comes to contracts.
Let's put this outside of baseball, right? Let's talk about it. I mean, we're all in relationships. You know, we got kids, married, everything like that. So let's be real about it. If you have a decision to make, right? Obviously, you're gonna, and he did have his decision to make, right? Because he did have a no trade clause to certain teams. The only team that happened to be interested in him was the Dodgers.
Right.
So obviously, you know, is he going to have those conversations? Absolutely, he's going to have those conversations. Does he have the right to make have those conversations? Absolutely.
Sure.
You know, and at the end of the day, people were hosing on him and everything like that. It's like, but hey, listen, at the end of the day, we're all people.
Right.
And baseball's a business, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
and like I say, most times you don't see that aspect. You only see the player as a player. You don't really take into effect that, you know, there's families involved, there's kids uprooting, you know. So, you know, that makes it a little bit difficult. JP, there was a name that was floating around prior, Kerry Carpenter, as a potential trade chip, we'll say. Power hitting left-hander. I mean, that's a hot commodity in baseball, especially for some teams that are looking for some help, maybe off the bench, give them some spark. Were you surprised that his name wasn't brought up in a trade?
No, not really. He's still under team control till like 2029. I think he makes league minimum. So really, at that point, it makes no sense to get rid of him. You know,
right?
When we don't even know if he's reached his ceiling yet.
That's true. And I'll go back to you before you have to bounce out. We're just going to do one topic with you, Rich. Do you see Erod re-upping for his player option next year?
I think if they can come to terms, or if he sees the direction of the team going the way that he likes it, I can see them signing him again. But then again, I mean, you know, if they don't pick it up, then, or they don't come to terms, then would I be surprised? I'd be surprised if they didn't pick it up, because if you look at what they got, they really don't have much.
Well, it's his option. He has the player option.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like if he just doesn't see, if he doesn't see anything manifesting for team, you know, are they getting better? Are they bringing some pieces in? If they're not, then he's bouncing.
Well, I feel like the fact that the Dodgers were the only team that was interested kind of lets you know where other teams are looking at him. But real quick before you go here, Rich, if he chooses to opt out next year, can you consider this a failure for Scott Harris with not moving him, not digging a little bit deeper and trying to move him?
Here's the thing: is we can speculate all we want. He might have had 10 teams calling about him. They might be all 10 that were on his do not trade. So I mean,
there was 10. There was 10.
Yeah, we can't really speculate. But not only that, though, it's kind of one of those things: high risk, high reward, right? So maybe what was being presented to them just wasn't worth it. So I mean, do I call it a failure? No, I don't call it a failure. I don't. I think he was cautious, but maybe a little overcautious. But still, you know, they still got to try to win some baseball games. They still got to, you know, it's a business. They got to make money, right? So
too bad they couldn't have mustered up a deal to pay half of Javi's contract and move him along.
So hey, it's funny you bring that up. So being out in the middle of nowhere, I've been able to do some reading. But man, I mean, he took some time off for personal reasons. I think it was a death in the family. And dude, people are just absolutely shitting on him. It's like, dude, at the end of the day, dude, we're all humans, right? And there's people absolutely just torching the guy on Twitter about it. So,
but that's just it. That's the nature of the beast when it comes to sports. They don't look at the other factors that are involved. They don't see, you know, that there's something. Even Erod last year, you know, rumors were he was having some marital problems. That's why he walked away from the game for a little while. Like, these are things that like you said, they're human beings. These are things that affect you and I, all four of us in this show. if there's a death in the family, we're going to be affected by it. If we're having relationship issues, our job's going to be affected by it. Sometimes we have to step away. But these guys are looked at in a different regard. They're looked at almost like superhuman, like they should not be affected by that. And I think that's absolutely wrong. And anybody, even down to Austin Meadows, the situation he's dealing with. I mean, mental health is not anything to frown upon, because it's a big deal, and it affects professional athletes as well. So that's a great point that you brought up.
So, all right, guys. Well, hey, I got to run. It was good. Enjoy the rest of the show. I'll catch up with you guys later.
Have fun. Later. Tell everybody we said hello.
All right, go blue.
Yeah, yeah. See you, Rich.
See you.
So, yeah, I mean, that is an aspect that people look at that, it is kind of unfair. I'll kind of close this out with you, Tim, since you didn't really get a talk here in this comment.
That's fine.
What were your thoughts? I guess we'll kind of go beyond the Tigers. Who do you feel helped themselves the most in baseball with this trade deadline?
I would probably say the Astros by re-adding Verlander. They let him go, thought they didn't need him. It ended up they needed him. The AL West with the Rangers adding Scherzer, they knew they had to make a move, so they went out and reacquired JV. And the Mets are covering more than half his contract. So
that's the. I mean, they gave up I think 2 of their top prospects, but yeah, they're paying like 35, and then the third option, if it's picked up, they'll cover half of that.
Yeah.
So that's crazy.
So Houston let him walk and got him back for a bag of chips, basically.
the famous Gary Foster quote, "Let the bitch walk," and then they brought him right back. JP, who do you feel helped themselves the most in this trade deadline?
I think it's got to be Texas with Scherzer. I feel like Texas is closer than Houston to being a World Series team. You look at their roster, they're 1 through 9, probably the best lineup in all of baseball, in my opinion. And then they've added not only Scherzer, but they added a couple more pitchers to solidify that rotation.
You got to be scared if you're a Ranger fan with Scherzer's first performance. He gave up 4 runs in the first and got a loss, but he's that way. He's kind of He's he's going to need some offensive production. So that's going to be really fun to watch going down the stretch, Houston and Texas. So
they got plenty of it, so he'll be okay.
Yeah. So that's I agree. It's interesting that the Padres decided to buy, and they haven't won a game since the trade deadline. So I think that was a big mistake. They should have moved Soto. I think they could have got a lot for him. They chose to make a run at it, being 7-8 games out of first place, few out of the wild card. They decided to take a run at it, and right now it's not boding very well for them.
That's tough to say though, because Juan Soto probably the best, if not the best player in baseball under 25, you know what I mean? And talking about just moving a guy like that, you know what I mean? That's hard to do.
But then you look at he's a free agent after next year. Is he going to stay? Yeah. They gave up a lot for him. They probably could have recouped a good amount back from another team that they lost. But yeah, and I agree with you. I mean, Soto, look what he did here. He almost hit the Silverado in center field up on the fountain.
The Padres, you look, they're the biggest mystery in baseball. They have their pitching staff has the starting rotation has the lowest ERA in the National League. And then you look at their starting lineup 1 through 9, and it just scratch your head how they're not 20 games over 500.
It makes you wonder how much of a clubhouse nuisance is Tatis, because the last couple years he has not been a part of that team due to injury, due to suspension, and they seem to excel really well with him not in the lineup. Now he's here from day one, and they're just faltering. So do you see that as maybe a problem? Is he a situation where he's kind of oil when they're to their water? Or
I mean, that's hard to say. I mean, I can speak for on the field when the guy's an electric player when he's
Sure.
on the field. You know what I mean? And it's just like I said, I just can't figure them out, man. You go down the line, it's Ha-Seong Kim and Cronenworth and Soto and Machado, and you know what I mean. They have such a good team on paper.
Bogarts.
And it's just
It's
Bogarts. Yeah,
ridiculous.
Yeah.
But you know what? There was a team here in Detroit in 2013 that had one hell of a lineup and a hell of a pitching staff that didn't do anything. So we're accustomed to that around here. So,
Yeah.
But you know what? There's hopes with the Tigers. I'm not giving up on Scott Harris yet. I trust him. He's got a great pedigree, and I think ultimately, maybe sometimes doing nothing is the right thing. And Michael Lorenzen was not going to be somebody that they were going to run with. Lorenzen came here.
He was a reclamation project, you know what I mean? And they ended up getting something. Scott Harris spoke to the fact that the Taiwanese player prospect that they picked up was a guy that they've been eyeing for a while.
Yeah.
I think he's somewhere around like 285 batting average and almost 600 plate appearances in the minors. And he's only 20. So
yeah, he was the Phillies' number 5 prospect. Interesting though, he's in West Michigan right now. They brought him down to West Michigan. So maybe they're going to start getting some confidence up, developing him down there when it's a little less on him. So, but yeah, Lorenzen came here to kind of reclaim his name. You're right, JP. So, but we're going to move on to the big news of the week out of the Big Ten. Oregon, Washington, which I think there isn't anybody in this show surprised that those were the two. I think we've done shows in the past. Okay, that they're going to add more. Who's it going to be? And we all agreed it was going to be these two. So Tim, that's 18 teams. That's coast to coast, almost corner to corner coverage. I saw a thing this week. It was one of the guys on Fox Sports. He was saying that the Big Ten is got you covered all day, all Saturday, 3 time zones. What does that mean now for the view of Big Ten football?
It's like you said, it's coast to coast, all 3 time zones. It's all about the money. And now, no matter what, football fans like us, we can wake up at noon, watch our local teams play, and then we can watch the late night USC games play.
Yeah.
I believe they're going to add 2 more teams, and I believe you're going to get the southeast corner with Clemson and Florida State. And I think they're going to go up to 20.
JP, I'll ask you the same question. Does this make the Big Ten king right now just because their visibility? And do you see it not stopping at 18? Do you see 2 more?
Yeah, I think there's potential, but I think they're going to go after somebody like Stanford and Cal, who are kind of a package deal. It fits academically, you know what I mean? It's that California market. I definitely don't think on the field wise, it's still the SEC, and that hill only got steeper for the other conferences when they added Texas and Oklahoma. I mean, if you look at it, they're dominating 13 of the last 17 national championships. If you go back to 2006, it's there's a big gap there that we're still trying, but it brings in more star power. Obviously, guy at USC, his name's escaping me right now for some reason. And then, you got Dan Lanning from Oregon, who's off that Kirby Smart tree. And it's exciting. It is exciting. Oregon's a big brand. They're going to bring all their uniforms. They got that Phil Knight Nike money. You know what I mean? And then you got UCLA, you got USC. I mean, I know that we've talked about it, and it'd be exciting to get out to those West Coast games and see some of those areas and some of those atmospheres as well. Because I've heard that Autzon's a pretty hostile environment.
Well, and then Washington, where you can go to the game by boat. That would be amazing.
By boat tailgate.
That would be incredible. You have Washington, Baylor, and Tennessee, the only 3 stadiums in the country that you can get to via boat. And I plan on getting to at least 2 of them. So you mentioned Cal and you mentioned Stanford. So currently we have What's up, Danny? How you doing, buddy? Thanks for watching. We appreciate that. Currently now there's only 4 teams representing the Pac-12.
Yeah.
There have been talks with Cal and Stanford. What happens to the other teams? Because really there's no other talks. Tim, I'll ask you guys both this question. Where do you see the remaining teams going? If not the Big Ten, then where?
Yeah, I think they're going to merge with the Mountain West. Pretty sure this is what I've been reading a lot of. Is going to be their only option, pretty much, unless the Big 12 picks up a couple more teams. I see the merger happening with the Mountain West.
Yeah, what do you think about that, JP?
Yeah, it's going to end up being the Mountain West. It's going to be the Pac-12 light, we'll call it. They haven't really been a representative in the playoff era much. Obviously, it's not a conference that's very sought after.
Lazy.
Yeah, it's on the West Coast. A lot of people don't really get to watch their games anyway. You know what I mean? So it made sense. Now I'm wondering if it's going to be the Big Ten after dark now instead of the Pac-12 after dark.
That's a good point, and it kind of leads me to my next question. Tim, I heard I saw a TikTok this week, and the guy basically said if they were to go ahead and grab Cal and Stanford, you keep those teams on the West Coast. You have like a Pacific division, and then you have your East Coast division, and you play each other. I would imagine that there would be some interchange there at some point.
Right.
Yeah.
But then they play a championship game at the Rose Bowl, so you have a semblance of tradition between the Pac then 10 and the Big Ten. What do you feel about that if it was to happen?
Like that would make a lot of sense to keep the Rose Bowl tradition alive between the two conferences, which would be one conference, obviously. But JP said it a few weeks ago. College football is pretty traditionalist now. There's not a lot of tradition left that stands.
No. The traditions went out the water with the
NFL. You look at Oregon and Washington, they're both members of the Pac-12 since 1915. And in a matter of days, that tradition's gone. So
because
Arizona, it doesn't matter anymore.
Arizona and Utah have agreed to go to the Big 12.
And Arizona State.
Utah was a team that I was looking at. Like that would be a really good fit. That atmosphere, almost like Wisconsin atmosphere, and it's a place where it snows and they have Big Ten type weather, so they're a Big Ten type of team, so they're going to the Big 12, which leads me to the coach of Missouri out of the Big 12. Boy, he wasn't happy. Check out this clip.
I'm gonna say it. I thought the transfer window. I thought the portal was closed. That's just for the student athletes. The adults in the room get to do whatever they want, apparently. And it's, it's just sad that there's, look, my question is, did we count the cost? I'm not talking about a financial cost. I'm talking about, did we count the cost for the student athletes involved in this decision? What cost is it to those student athletes? We're talking about a football decision. They based off football, but what about softball and baseball who have to travel cross country? Do we ask about the cost to them? Do we know what the number one indicator of symptom or cause of mental health is? It's lack of rest and sleep. Traveling in those baseball, softball games, those people, they travel commercial. They get done playing at 4. They got to go to the airport. They come back. It's 3 or 4 in the morning. They got to go to class. I mean, did we ask any of them? Are we going to look back? I don't worry at all about the game. The game is going to be strong. Football is going to be fine. We'll all figure it out. But did we consider the people that we are entrusted with? Did we consider the student athlete?
JP, he's got a point. He's got a point, and you haven't heard that side of the spectrum. The people that are questioning, what does it mean? What's your take on his comments?
No, yeah, he hit the nail on the head. these programs and these conferences and all, they're basically selling their souls for TV deals, TV money. At the end of the day, these schools they're bringing in more revenue. They're getting richer by the day. And, yeah, they really aren't thinking about the student athlete. I think every Big Ten team with the addition of Oregon and Washington is on pace to make $60 million annually.
Huge.
You know what I mean? That's on the light side.
Over half of what they're making, or twice as what they're making currently.
So, think about the treks from Washington to Maryland, and you know what I mean? That's a lot. That's going to be a lot on the kids, and I don't think anybody did think about it. You start seeing those dollar signs, and it doesn't really matter.
Tim?
I'm not going to beat a dead horse because you guys hit the nail on the head with it. The coach is 100% right, but at the end of the day, it's driven by money, and the football is what drives the money in the NCAA. So it's all money based. No one cares about the kids, which sucks to say, but that's what it is.
I think once NIL took a stranglehold on football, I mean, even college athletics as a whole, that kind of changed everything. And we'll get into that here in a little bit. But I think that opened the door for where we're at today, and conferences want to compete, and they want to compete with the big boy. And like you said, JP, it's the SEC. The Big Ten has been more proactive lately than the SEC has been, which, you know what, as a Big Ten football fan, as we all are, I love to see it. I love to see when our conference is really stepping up and leading the way, kind of setting the pace. Obviously, SEC really got this thing going a couple years ago with Texas and Oklahoma, which they're going to join next year. Is it next year or is it this year? It's next year.
24, yeah.
Right. So they kind of opened the door. Then the Big Ten kind of followed suit, and then they kind of expanded on it with the no divisions, which the SEC followed up by saying we're going to kind of go down that route.
Yeah.
Do you see the SEC saying we need to go out and get more? Tim wants represented Big Ten representation in the Southeast, Florida, maybe up the coast. Do you see the SEC kind of going in and blocking the Big Ten from going that route?
See, when it comes to the Big Ten, they out-earn all the conferences by a long shot, and they sell their ass for money. When it comes to the SEC, they just want to win. That's it. That's all there is to it. The SEC is going to go out and they're going to get the best teams, and it's basically going to be one huge mega conference down there. So that's going to be, if they add anything more, I could see Clemson, Florida State, and it's just, those guys are going to be killing each other every week to try to make that playoff.
It just means more.
Tim, the ACC, which we're talking at Florida State, we're talking Miami, we're talking Clemson, we're talking North Carolina, who's got a nice program now, Pitt. They've got a big TV deal with ESPN, and ESPN has already said they're not getting out of it. Do you think that will be a roadblock for some of these bigger name teams jumping conferences?
I mean, there'll be an exit fee for them to get out of the conference, but if the conference wants them bad enough, they would pay the exit fee to get out of the deal.
So do you see the SEC going hard after some of these schools?
Yeah, maybe Clemson. Clemson could compete in the SEC. I don't see Florida State or Miami being able to compete, but I could see them going after Clemson for sure.
I mean, it's a big name. It's a big name, and it's an SEC-esque kind of school. And JP, you mentioned a little while ago about the Big Ten tends to kind of keep some semblance of an academic choice when they make these things. So, obviously Stanford would be at the top. Cal will be at the top. Is that maybe one reason why that might not happen with some of those teams in the ACC coming to the Big Ten, minus a North Carolina, maybe?
Yeah, it could be. We try to perceive ourselves as academia, but we're just as dirty and as the rest of them. But
there is a football team south of the border that
yeah,
shady.
Yeah, a little shady.
Sorry, Tim.
University of Cincinnati.
So you don't
No.
forecast the Big Ten going after the SEC or
No.
the Clemson or Florida State.
No, I don't see it happening. Like I said, if they're going to get anybody else, I think it's going to be Cal and Stanford. That seems to kind of be the, what's being reported.
Right. Well, if they were to go down into Florida, they would have coast to coast, corner to corner coverage. That would be incredible.
Yeah.
But we go as far south as Columbus, it seems. So
my question is when this is all said and done, where are we going to be at? Is it going to be 3 massive mega conferences? Right. Because it seems to me like the Pac-12 is going bye-bye. I mean, that's obvious. And then, what are they going to do with the ACC? I think, maybe the Big 12 can survive. But, after you look at the Big 10 and the SEC, there's no guarantees really anywhere.
No.
So what happens with Notre Dame, do you guys think? You think they stay independent, or is their hands going to be forced sooner or later?
I think they're going to be forced.
Where do you think they go?
They have to be. And all the other sports are an ACC school.
Except, hockey, they're Big Ten.
Yeah. So, their basketball program and things like that are ACC. And they joined the ACC during COVID year, so maybe they would go that route.
Do you think, since they're going to a 12-team playoff, do you think that will keep Notre Dame from joining conference?
There's already talk of they're going to have to. It's going to have to go to 16, and then at some point it's going to go to 20. The playoff's going to keep expanding.
Wow.
I think, and as it keeps expanding, that's going to give Notre Dame's not going to have a choice but to join a conference.
Well, I did read this week that the college football regents or whoever's in charge of that, have, with all this expansion, they've kind of rethought the 12 teams. So if they're thinking of adding more to it, then that would make sense, because you're just going to have. I mean, look at the Big Ten with what they have now. They've got 8 teams right now that have a legitimate shot at top 10. So and then you look at the SEC, which Randall, I know he's watching. Thanks for watching, buddy. Good to see you. His representation down in the SEC, I mean, those are powerhouses too. So between the two conferences, you're looking at close to 20 teams, and that's just the two conferences. So we're not even talking about Big 12. So JP, I think you're right in a sense that they have to add to it. Tim, do you agree with that assessment?
Yes, definitely.
I think you have to find a true champion, because we've seen over the years recently that there's obviously there's a big gap there between
imbalance.
There's a big imbalance there. I mean, TCU didn't belong anywhere near Georgia, you know what I mean? And it just goes back, Clemson beating on Ohio State all those years, you know what I mean? Shutting them out, and sorry, Tim. or us,
Michigan State gets shut out by Alabama.
Yeah, or even Michigan against Georgia. At some point you have to develop a system that's going to find a true champion. Yes. You can make an argument last year that Alabama was better than TCU. Alabama was probably better than Michigan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Probably better than Ohio State. In a bigger, larger field, they get in and they could get to make a run at it. Right. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Probably could have went with Michigan or Alabama, Georgia. It could have been an all SEC playoff.
Tennessee.
That's kind of where it's going to go. Yeah.
We see it every year with March Madness. There's always a big upset. So the more teams you put in, the better chance you'll get for an upset.
There is more parity in college basketball than any sport alive. That's a whole nother conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Till Oral Roberts blows you out of the water.
Yeah, exactly.
But I do agree. I think adding more teams to that playoff view will kind of separate, the good from the bad, who deserves there to be there and who doesn't. So that'll be something really exciting to look at, which we're going to move on to our next topic here. We're staying with the college football. We're going to do some Heisman predictions. Can Georgia three-peat? Well, they got a new quarterback coming in. Even Ohio State's got a new quarterback coming in. Yeah, I agree with you, Randall, that UNC is going to be a hot commodity, and you would think for basketball, but they've got a
Yeah.
really good football program building down there, and one of the players is going to be someone we're going to talk about here in a minute, as to why they've been resurgent. But I think I'm going to keep on the topic of just kind of the state of college football where we're at. NIL's come in, it reigns supreme. It has taken all the traditions out. As a fan, I think we all agree it kind of sucks in a way because you don't get those kids. There's a lot of Ohio kids coming to Michigan. That happened years ago, but it seems like it's happening a little bit more now, prevalent. That's an NIL thing. Kids going to other schools because of NIL. These expansions, these teams joining other conferences, Big Tens, coast to coast. Is that hurting the state of college football? I'll ask you that, Tim.
I do think it is. I think the rich are getting richer and the poor are just getting poorer. Like at this point, you might as well just make like the MAC a FBS or a FCS school. I mean, you might as well just knock them down to two, basically, because they have no chance to do anything.
Yeah, I mean, and you're right. What are these schools? It's kind of like NBA. If you're not the top 3 teams, what do you have to play for? Because you don't have a snowball's chance in Hades. JP, what is your opinion on that? Are we looking at maybe the downfall of not only college football, but college athletics as a whole? It's now no longer an amateur sport. These kids are making millions, and they're promoting themselves, which good for them. But I think it hurts the overall product.
Yeah, I agree with that. You look at the smaller programs; they're basically feeders for the big boys. I mean, look at Jahmyr Gibbs. Going from Georgia Tech to Alabama. That's basically what it is now. It's you got your top dogs, and then you got everybody else. And the top dogs are choosing, and they're doing whatever they want. You know what I mean? So it's already it's already there. We're already there. We're past tradition. College football is not what it used to be. What I remember 20 something odd years ago when I started watching it. It's basically moved into a professional sport. What it seems like, even with like the playoff formats and everything, and the way that they're moving now.
You have kids that are staying in school now because they make more money staying in school. Blake Corum, I think Blake Corum is making more money as a senior at the University of Michigan than he would be as a third, maybe fourth round draft pick in the NFL.
That running back situation's a whole other story, though. I could see how you could make more money at Michigan than as a running back in the NFL. I mean, did you see Kenyon Drake just got picked up over Dalvin Cook? I mean, what is going on?
It's insane. It really is insane.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think you hit the nail right on the head with that one. And we talked about it on previous episodes that the running back position has definitely kind of fallen apart. Do you see that, Tim, where players are now making decisions based upon, hey, I'm not going to go in the first 2 rounds. I've got these NIL deals if I'm at Michigan, if I'm at Ohio State, that have organizations and their sole purpose is to present NIL deals for these kids. Do you see more players saying, well, I'm going to go stay 4 years. Maybe I'll pick up my 5th-year deal because financially it's better for me and my family.
Yeah, 100%. At 20 years old, I'm going wherever the money's at. If I'm making more money in the NFL, I'm going to go into the draft. If I can make more money off NIL, I'm going to stay in school. And
look at Hunter Dickinson.
Yeah.
He can't get out of the NCAA.
No. We'll get into that as the season gets closer.
The NBA center might as well be the NFL running back.
Yeah, right.
They go hand in hand.
Maybe Marvin Harrison will come back for a 4th year.
But that presents the other side of the coin. You see more players maybe sticking around because there's more opportunity. Does that better the game now that these players want to stick around? Oh, that's both of you guys. I'll start with you, Tim.
I think basketball-wise it will, because I think one and done's kind of killing basketball in college. football wise, a lot of these guys can come in as freshmen and make an impact. So I don't think it'll make a big difference football wise.
JP?
I think football wise it helps out, but you look at college basketball. We talked about this during the season. It's pretty much a free for all. I mean, you have teams that are they're running out a starting five of all guys who played on another team the year before.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's kind of insane. College basketball, and then you got some of the best players who are playing, you know, for G League,
Elite. Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's like it's a watered down product. It's not a good one. I think college basketball is in big trouble. I think college football is always going to survive, though. You know, football is king and everything.
And you look at your comment you made with college basketball being watered down. I agree 100%. Look at the NBA. You get these kids are coming in. They're hyping themselves up. They've got millions of followers. This and that. They hit the big time, and they're not what they're all choked up to be. So you get that a little bit more. I mean, you can go through the rosters of any NBA team, and a lot of them are who's this guy? I have no idea, and I think that really hurts. I think that really hurts the game as a whole.
But you look at the NBA though, you know, they're shelling out so much money.
Oh, it's insane.
I mean, are you going to be mad at a kid for sitting on the bench to make $8-9 million a year? You know what I mean? And that's what you're making your decision off of, because if you can, like, you look at guys like, you know, Caleb Houston at Michigan. You know, the kid a couple of years ago, he got drafted by Orlando. You know, he was supposed to be the next big thing, and he was not ready when he entered the draft, but you have to get in and you have to make that money while you can, because you don't know how long your shelf life's going to be.
Sure.
The NBA is constantly cycling guys in and out. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So and you see it with college basketball, you know, that you got guys transferring to 3-4 different teams before, you know, they can't make it out of college. It's just a watered down bad product.
Like you said, Hunter Dickinson. So
yeah,
we're going to move on here to the upcoming season, which, with all that being said, all that last talk about NIL expansions, man, I tell you what, I'm excited for it. I think that's what drives college football. People are still going to watch.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to go ahead and look at the national championship odds. Of course, Georgia's going to lead the way. They've won the last two.
Yeah.
The caveat here is they got a new quarterback. We talked pre-show, JP. This is a team that doesn't really have a tough schedule. You want to hit on that?
Yeah. So their non-conference schedule is UT Martin, Ball State, UAB. They really don't have anything of note until they go on the road and they play at Tennessee. They got Ole Miss at home. It's setting up for them to pretty much cruise to the SEC championship. Probably setting up for an Alabama-Georgia showdown. But I think a lot of people are sleeping on that team there at number 11, LSU, who brings back Jaden Daniels, who's a Heisman front-runner candidate. I think they have a great team. Harold Perkins is a guy on their defense that you're going to be hearing a lot about. He's only a second-year guy, big-time edge rusher. But LSU, I mean, it's one of the most talent-rich states in the country for football.
And they got a good old-fashioned homegrown Cajun coach.
Yeah.
Oh, finally.
So he inherited. There was quite a bit there when he got there, and he's recruited to a level. And
was he born on third base?
No.
Oh, okay.
Not that good.
Not him.
Okay.
But no, yeah, they're LSU, man. People need to look out for LSU this year. I think they're coming.
So you answered my follow-up question as a possibly. I don't know if they're a sleeper team. So maybe we'll expand on it. Maybe not LSU. Do you see any other teams? I'll put the list back up that could potentially slide their way back up into the conversation.
Yeah, Florida State at number 9 is an intriguing one to me. I think that, you know, they're obviously going to battle it out with Clemson. Clemson's breaking in Cade Klubnik. You know what I mean? He's the first-year starter. But Jordan Travis is a guy at Florida State who's a big-name quarterback. And if you don't know who he is, I think you will. come regular season. But they have a plethora of playmakers. Obviously, they have that Florida speed defense. There's a lot of talent there. I think Norvell's getting ready to take them over the top this year.
Well, and he's going to want to be looking to build because there's a coach in Colorado that in a couple years probably will be nipping at his heels to want to get in there to Florida State. Tim, JP just talked about Georgia and their easy schedule. Who do you see as probably being the front runner at the moment? And then give me a team that, as the season goes on, would not shock you if they went and made a run.
Front runner at the moment has to be Georgia. You're top dog until you're not. You won 2 years in a row. You should have lost last year, but we won't talk about that.
It's still wide right.
Left.
Wide left.
A sleeper team, I can see Washington. Michael Penix Jr. is a top Heisman candidate.
Yep.
4 or 5 years experience. They looked really good last year. And, the Pac-12 separating, I think some teams just aren't going to be motivated to play. USC proves their choke artists in certain games. Only team that scares me with Washington would be the Oregon game. Other than that, I think they can easily make it.
But what about Utah? They still have Cam Rising out there. Everybody's always hating on Utah, man. No love for the Utes.
You took the words right out of my mouth, buddy. I was going to mention Utah as they're sitting at 17 plus 5,000.
Yeah.
You're right. Cam Rising, he's 2 years removed from a Rose Bowl that he played his ass off, and they ran into a buzzsaw with CJ Stroud and that wide receiver core. Man, I mean that was some of the most impressive offense I've seen in a long time, and that's coming from a Michigan fan to a Buckeye team. But last year Utah couldn't get out of their own way, it seemed. But then Rising seemed like he was hurt a good portion of that year, but he's a good quarterback. He's experienced. He's kind of been through the buzzsaw, and I agree, JP. I think that's a team, sitting at 17.
Another one I'm looking at. You look at Texas at 7, and Texas kind of they get the fanfare and they get the buzz every year, but you just got to wonder, how much room there is for Quinn Ewers to go out and lose the job to Arch Manning, or when the fans are going to, there's nobody more famous on campus than the backup quarterback. And I can see, Texas fans calling for Arch Manning, if Quinn Ewers doesn't show up.
I mean, you throw a couple picks in a big game and they're going to be calling for him. Another team that potentially could make a run is Notre Dame. We were talking pre-show again.
Yeah.
They got their quarterback, although he's just going to be there for 1 year. That's what they were missing last year. They went on a nice little run in the second half after a horrible start. Freeman's coaching career. They were missing the quarterback. They couldn't seem to get it right. And when they seemed to get it right, he got hurt. So I think this new quarterback coming in can help them big time. And
I can't even think of the last time Notre Dame had a quarterback even relatively as good as Sam Hartman. So you got to go back pretty far. There's nothing that's even coming to mind.
He fits that mold. I'm sure our good buddy Bill Wirtz is fired up for this upcoming season. From national champions, you mentioned Michael Penix a minute ago, Tim. Here's your odds for Heisman. I forgot to change the graphic at the top, so disregard this. This is Heisman odds. Caleb Williams, kind of like Georgia, he's got to be the favorite. So JP, I'll start with you on this one. Give me your pick, who you feel could be the Heisman, and then somebody on this list, maybe not on this list, that could easily make their way up into the conversation.
Yeah, I think Caleb Williams. I think if they win the Pac-12, they go to the college playoff. He does relatively what he did last year. I think it's kind of a layup. Drake May is a guy that, whose numbers were gaudy and popped off the chart for you last year, and he's got another year of experience. I think he's going to be really good. We mentioned Jaden Daniels. He's going to have plenty of big games and plenty of chances to prove it. Jordan Travis is a guy I like. Obviously you see there's a lot of quarterbacks on this list. I think if I'm looking outside of the quarterback realm, Marvin Harrison Jr. I think is going to have a huge year, and it kind of pains me to say that. But I mean, if we're giving an award to the best player in the country, I mean, he's got to be up there.
Yeah, and he's listed at, I did usually top 20, but he's at 21. I think he's undervalued as far as that goes. And again, this is coming from a Michigan fan, so I think we're on board. He's the first wide receiver on that list. Tim, same question to you. Who do you feel will win the Heisman? And then who do you think could, and I'll add one caveat, not Marvin Harrison Jr., because we all know you put money on that. Give me somebody not named Marvin Harrison Jr. that could easily find their way up at the top.
Winning it, I just said it in the last segment. I could see Michael Penix winning it. You got an easy Pac-12. It's going to be who can put up better numbers between him and Caleb Williams. USC's a choke artist, so if he loses and Penix doesn't lose, he looks better on paper.
Yep. Currently at third.
Someone I put money on as well is Donovan Edwards. I got him at plus 10,000 odds, actually. So I don't like Blake Corum. That's a biased opinion. I think Edwards is way better. And I could see Edwards making a run into New York and taking the trophy home, especially with that solid offensive line Michigan has.
There are two different types of runners. One's kind of crafty in Corum, and you saw what Edwards did last November in Columbus, where he just and for a guy his size and his power, he does have some speed. Yeah. He was running away from those DBs, so that is one running back room that's going to be exciting to watch. Ohio State's got Travion Henderson, which a lot of people are saying that he's undervalued, he's underrated. If he can get past the injury issues, I think that puts him into the conversation.
Mayan
Williams, yeah. I mean, he came in. He was their third or fourth option last year, and
he was number 2 behind Henderson, and then Henderson and Williams both got hurt, and Dallin Hayden took over.
Yeah,
but I think Dallin Hayden's their best running back by far. And he proved it in the most workload he got last year.
So this is interesting to me. JP, you mentioned Cade Klubnik making his debut. We'll say he's first time starting the season as a starter. They've got him number 8, but then they've got JJ McCarthy at 12, who's got more experience starting, and he showed a lot of promise toward the end of the year, specifically in that Ohio State game.
Yeah.
He's sitting at 11 with Joe Milton, former Michigan quarterback, now at Tennessee at 10. Is there a little bit of a disrespect for J.J. McCarthy? Do you think the way he presents himself with his meditation prior to the game, he's not your normal football player. He does things a little bit different. Does that maybe give him a little disrespect around the country?
No, I wouldn't go with that. I mean, if you look at their offense the last couple of years, it's been a heavy 60-40 lean when it comes to running the ball. You know what I mean? And in order to win the award, you got to put up numbers.
True.
I think he only had 22 touchdowns last year or something, 2,300 passing yards. So, yeah, I just think that they're projecting it based on the style of team that Michigan is and has been, which all reports are that they're supposed to open up the offense a little bit more this year and probably throw it around a little bit more. But, yeah, that's just based off of projections on what style and what team they've been. But, that could change.
Right. Two, it seemed like Harbaugh kind of had the handcuffs on him for, halfway of the season. And as it got closer, whether it was a trust factor or they were just kind of keeping some stuff in their back pocket to unveil in Columbus remains to be seen. So I would like to see them go downfield. They've got the options now. It would make their running game that much better. They've got a All-American style tight end. So they have a lot of options. So I can see J.J. McCarthy moving up that board as the season progresses. And of course, that's the homer in me. Always going to pick the players that I like. That's the fanatic in me. That's the fan. We're all the same way. That's what makes this sport so great. We're going to talk about another sport. Man, get your boxing gloves ready. Man, if you haven't seen it, man. Jose Ramirez knocked out Tim Anderson last night. Oh my gosh. You check out this clip.
Oscar's throw is not in time.
He just missed him at second base. This is another rocket of a throw, and now...
Oh, boy.
Now
oh, my goodness. Here come the benches. Off we go. It started with Anderson and Ramirez. Swings being taken. Kopech had to hold him back, and everybody's spilling out here in Cleveland. Here's how this started on the throw to second base. Ramirez went in between the legs of Tim Anderson, and Ramirez says, get out of the way.
Well, then Ramirez points his finger in his face, and that kind of started things.
Yaz just came sprinting back up the stairs.
Down goes Frazier. Oh man, that was
dude.
The best part was when they kind of zoomed in on it. And they're first off, I've never seen a base brawl where they're like putting their dude
Squared up.
And what was Kopech doing? He was like letting Ramirez get close. Like if I'm Kopech, it's Ramirez and 3 White Sox. Kopech didn't do anything to try and stop Ramirez, and he just starts throwing his arms like I would probably if I was in a fight because I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Have they issued the suspensions and fines on this yet? Because they're probably going to be kind of lofty, I would imagine.
I am not 100% sure. I'm sure they're going to come down. They're going to come down hard. But before we get into this, check out Tim Anderson after the fight.
And this is Tim Anderson.
He wasn't feeling too good there. Oh my God.
He was a little woozy.
I
think that was the first time I've ever seen 2 dudes just like square up on a field. I've seen obviously punches, but they were like squared up, like, you know what I mean?
They were good old put your dukes up. Come on. What you got?
The umpire was like, yeah, I'm out. I'm not getting in this one.
Ramirez, like, he tried to hold him back. Ramirez, something must have been said. He's like, I ain't getting caught up in this shit. And he's probably thankful for that. Tim, I'll ask you, we won't get too much into this one, but clearly Ramirez just cold-cocked him. And they asked the coach afterwards, like, what are your thoughts on it? And he was like, well, I don't want to say it was funny, but he's got a hell of a right hook. Is that the type of thing where you could see motivating the team? Cleveland's a couple games out of first. That's in the worst division in baseball. Is this the type of thing that they can say, you know what, Ramirez is out here fighting. We got his back. Let's make a run at this.
100%. As a fan, I love seeing that in sports. You know, you police your own issues, and it could just fire a team up instantly. You know, like you said, Ramirez out there fighting, leaving everything on the field. Literally, is going to cost them money in games. So,
and he's their best player.
Yeah.
Thoughts on that, JP?
No, I mean, they're obviously a bad baseball team in a bad division in a pennant race. So, I mean, yeah, there's probably a little frustration going on. You know, Cleveland's the youngest team in baseball, which kind of blew my mind seeing that. But, yeah, they're no good. You know what I mean? It's late in the year. They're frustrated. These guys play each other a lot. They're really familiar with each other.
Right.
Sure, there was probably a lot of shit talk, you know what I mean, that previously leading up to it for him to pop up like that.
There was something that had to have been said.
there's a lot of things that go on those fields and in those professional games that don't really get seen or noticed. You know what I mean?
The behind the scenes.
Yeah.
You see it a lot more in hockey, but if someone took a run at like Larkin or Raymond, Slider's going to be up their ass to fight them, and then they're going to come out on fire, and that's going to motivate them at least for that game. They're going to,
why can't? I don't mean to like sound barbaric, but why can't we normalize fighting in sports? It's okay in hockey.
Yeah,
but if themselves.
Yeah.
If a guy wants to duke it out on the basketball court or on the baseball field or something, just let him go.
That scene of him literally dukes up like it's 1940s
right
bare knuckles.
Every sport's a suspension and a fine. Hockey, it's a 5-minute penalty.
Right.
And you go back out there and play again, you shake hands.
Right. And Jose Ramirez is he's kind of a quiet guy. He's a jokester and he's not one that you would think that would get up and the minute he poked his eye, boom, that's right there. That's your, that's a threat. So Tim Anderson had to.
There had to have been something there.
Yeah, absolutely. So you were mentioning pre-show that he released a statement, Tim Anderson. You want to quote that, JP?
I lost it.
Oh,
but it was something.
Paraphrase.
I don't have it in front of me, but something along the lines of "This is bigger than baseball, and we're going to see each other again."
Yeah, I mean, which kind of leads to my next question. They play in the same division. They play each other a lot. They're going to play each other again very soon.
Right.
Will we expect more dust-ups, and will the umpires kind of be prepared? We had this situation last year. I forget what two teams. They were kind of back and forth at each other throughout the season, and then there was a big series coming up, and they were warned even before the series started, don't play any games because you're going to get rung. So you see that happening here?
No. I would imagine that the league and the teams and everybody would advise them not to engage in those type of things. That's kind of frowned upon in baseball, the fight. Like you said, it's not hockey. Mm-hmm. Even though, hey, would it hurt the sport? There's a lot of jawing between pitchers and batters. You know what I mean? Why not let them handle it?
Sure.
A little street justice.
Old school baseball, they did. You get too close to the plate, I'm going to dust you off the plate.
It's like Nolan Ryan videos. People would charge the plate, and he'd throw them in a headlock and toss them and punch them. You know what I mean? And
Robin Ventura found out the hard way.
Yeah, Robin Ventura got it.
Yeah, don't fuck with the old man because you're a little boy, and he
and Nolan Ryan was like almost 50 at that point when he
I think he was 47 at the time.
46,
he bull charged him, and
he found out. He fucked around and found out.
He threw a punch, and Nolan Ryan ducked and got him in a headlock and just started. Little boy. Oh man, that's always one of the best memories, best clips in baseball. But speaking of fighting, I know I asked Tim this earlier. Did you happen to see the Jake Paul Nate Diaz fight last night? Jake, did you watch that?
I watched little clips of it. It looked like a pillow fight to me. Nate Diaz looked like he has no business being in a boxing ring.
Right.
And most of his fights, to me, especially recently, it's just him getting his ass kicked and getting his head pounded in. But he's making a lot of money to do it, so I ain't gonna blame the guy. But it's just ridiculous what these fights are doing. Nobody even knows real boxing anymore.
No.
There's a small majority of people that watch real boxing. It's
very small and smaller by the day. Tim, are these real fights or are they staged? Because they were talking earlier before the show. There was a moment when Diaz walked over to the ropes and kind of like hung on the one, and Paul or Logan Paul came up to him and like clocks him in the side of the head. It looked very suspicious to me.
It's staged. It's definitely meant for Jake Paul to win. The one fight he lost was against a real boxer, Tommy Fury. But these UFC fighters, JP said, they have no business. They're trained to do different fighting.
Yeah.
Diaz threw a guillotine on Jake Paul last. I don't know if you guys seen that mid-fight. He grabbed him by the throat and started choking him out. He had no business being in there, but
that's two different styles of fighting.
You probably got a $10 million paycheck for a loss.
Yeah.
Well, talk about your experience last night. You went to
I took
SummerSlam.
I took my daughter and girlfriend down to SummerSlam. It was that's definitely staged fighting. So it was fun. Took us 3 hours to get home from downtown. That was a nightmare in itself. Logan Paul opened up the show, flew down in a private jet to Dallas to walk his brother down to the ring for the fight. I hate the Paul brothers, but I give him respect for that, being a family man,
Yeah.
So I've never been to a live wrestling event. I haven't watched wrestling since I couldn't tell you how long. What is the experience being live compared to watching on TV? I have a friend that was there yesterday, and she was saying that it was a cool atmosphere. It was awesome, the spectacle, but she found herself watching the screen more and felt like the home experience was from a fan's viewpoint, being at home was more of a better experience.
There's definitely an atmosphere at an event like SummerSlam. It's one of their bigger events of the year, but watching wise, it's definitely better on TV. Like I was watching the Jumbotron at Ford Field. I was looking up across midfield to see it. So it's better to see on TV, but there was an atmosphere. It was electric. It was kind of cool to be down there.
Yeah, it was. All week they were doing special things. It seemed really cool. I completely forgot that was down there. But we're going to move on to our favorite part of the show, which ironically enough, you can bet on wrestling.
Yes, DraftKings.
Wow, that is incredible. Let's get to it.
Get those betting slips ready. It's time for Ain't My Money, Not My Problem, where we make the picks, you make the money.
That's right. That's the point in the show where get your apps out, whatever you choose, whatever's giving you free money. We're going to give you a bet. Hopefully you win money and send some our way. We don't know. That would be great one day. Haven't had it happen yet, but there's always tomorrow. Tim, it's not your money.
It's not my problem.
What do you got this week?
Another futures bet in the NFL. I'm stacking up on the futures right now. NFL Defensive Player of the Year. Plus 3,300, Aiden Hutchinson.
Wow.
So I think he's going to have a breakout year, probably close to 14, 15, 16 sacks, somewhere in that range.
I'm starting to wonder if this guy's not a closet Michigan fan. It's just, it's kind of crazy.
I like making money.
It's kind of just out there.
Tim, you didn't come out of the closet, my friend.
Yeah.
You got any more? Or is that what?
That was just the future right there.
All right, JP, it's not your money.
Not my problem. All right, I got the Cubs money line over the Mets tomorrow. Cubs are trending upwards, 7 of their last 10. One of the hottest teams in baseball. The Mets are a fire sale. They've lost 7 of their last 10. They've lost. They got shut out again today by Baltimore. They don't look too hot. I like the Cubs. They're actually giving the Cubs at plus money tomorrow at 114. So
wow.
I would just bet that straight up. And you'll have a return of $100 on your $100.
You know who's pitching?
For the Cubs, it's Drew Smiley.
The former
Tiger.
I can't believe he's still starting pitcher in the MLB. That blows my mind.
He has a winning record.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. But he's kind of like I won't compare him to Greg Maddux. He's the type of pitcher to where he mixes his pitches. He's not going to wow you with his fastball, but his delivery and the way he's got movement on his pitches, like that's how he's been able to stay in the league that long. I'm going to stick with baseball because it ain't my money, it ain't my problem, and I'm going to stay home here. The Tigers tomorrow, money line plus 140. Joey Wentz is on the mound. He's looked really well. He has looked really well his last couple outings. He was sent down on about a month ago. He was sent down and did really well at Toledo. his last start before he came up had 12 strikeouts. Yeah, it's in Toledo, but he went down there and he took care of his business, and he came up and he looked rejuvenated, and he's pitched well. So I like the Tigers tomorrow against the Twins plus 140. And this is just about the time the Tigers go ahead and go on their little run and get people excited again. If they're losing 2 or 3 over the weekend to Tampa. So
I don't know. I don't know if that run's coming, Tom.
I'm not calling it a run. I'm not calling it a run. I'm calling it a nice week.
I'm more intrigued. I'm more intrigued at this point of who the September call-ups are going to be.
Hopefully Colt Keith makes it.
Well, Colt Keith.
Malloy.
And Parker Meadows, maybe.
Yeah. They said Chase Young's tearing it up at West Michigan right now. So he should get a promotion soon, whether, to Toledo and whatnot.
Who his brother plays for the Diamondbacks.
Rangers.
The Rangers, yeah, you're right. Third baseman for the Rangers.
All-star.
Yeah, as a rookie. That's crazy.
Yeah.
They definitely got a pedigree there. So,
yeah.
All right, fellas, we're going to move on to the last segment of the show tonight. Some closing thoughts. And Tim, we'll start with you. What do you got some closing thoughts for this evening?
Rich said it best earlier. These athletes are humans. This week at leaked Johnny Manziel tried committing suicide after he got cut by the Cleveland Browns. And I guarantee you all of us were on social media hosing him, how bad of a football player he was, this and that, talking shit about him. Like Rich said, these guys are humans, man. We got to give them a break a little bit. We can't expect them to be robots and be perfect.
Yep.
Granted, he was a party animal and did most of the damage to himself. They got families, they got feelings, they got all this shit going on. We got to cut them breaks when they mess up, and they deserve second chances just as much as we do.
And how much? Go ahead.
Didn't I see that he's opening a club in College Station?
Yes. Yeah.
The money.
When does that come out? When does that come out?
That Netflix show comes out the same day as Swamp Kings, August 23rd. So that'll be a call-off day for sure.
That's gonna be must-see TV. But I'll kind of expunge on that. How much of the pressure leads to alcoholism, leads to drug abuse, to kind of like mask a lot of their problems?
I believe you said it earlier. It's these players promoting themselves to be something they're not, and they put all these expectations they can't live up to.
Absolutely. JP, what you got this week?
I didn't really have anything too prepared this week. We're kind of chugging along here with the show and talking about things as they come. And I just wanted to say, I appreciate everybody that watches us. You know what I mean? Even if it's just our close family and friends, it's definitely appreciated. And it's nice to when people talk about it. And I get occasionally get a guy coming up to me at work talking about it or something. So it's been really fun to do this, and we just appreciate everybody that participates in this weekly.
Well said. And even if we touch one person, we haven't had him back on in a couple of weeks. It seems Virgil, who is from England. It's just crazy where it could possibly go, the reach that that's out there. So well said. I agree with you on that one. But my closing thoughts tonight are I got to experience something yesterday that I was very proud. My nephew Aaron got married, and it's beyond crazy to me to think that he's of age to get married. But this kid he's just a wonderful human being. I'll always picture him as a little kid running around my grandma or my mom's house. He lived with us growing up, tossing the baseball around, talking about Bobby Higginson and Green Palmer. He thought Dean Palmer's name was Green Palmer. So those are always great memories. So I envision him still at that age, and he was walking down the aisle yesterday, and I was just like, wow, this is crazy. Time flies. He's just been a outstanding kid. He's got a great career. He works for the Detroit Police Department. He's in the special ops division. He's doing really well. So I'm really proud of him. My dad, myself, and my brother kind of took the role as the father figure for him growing up, and I think that's helped make him who the man he is today. And I'm proud of that, and I'm proud of him. And if you're listening, buddy, I love you. You make me proud every day. And it was good seeing you, and you and Morgan are going to be unbelievable. So with that being said, yes, I agree with JP. We do thank everyone that watches, that listens. It really helps us out. Go follow us on all our socials. We're out there. We're posting stuff usually daily. So look for some more cool content as the week progresses. As far as next week goes, not sure if we're going to do a show. I'm out of town, so we're going to try and figure out a way to get this thing still going. That way we keep content rolling. So, but be on the lookout. If we're going to do a show, we'll let you guys know. But again, like, follow, subscribe. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you for tuning in to the Easyspeak at Speakeasy330 podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Check us out on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. We look forward to sharing another cold one with you right here next time for another fun-filled episode. Cheers.